So now we are going to make pastry cream in the eggless version. Okay, so I have the ingredients here. That's milk, corn flour, all purpose flour, that's custard powder, butter, sugar and vanilla extract. So the method is going to be, I am going to get all the three flours, which is the custard powder, corn flour and all purpose flour in another bowl, and add a little bit of milk and make a paste which is lump free. Okay, so then I am going to add the rest of the milk and the sugar into the saucepan and heat the milk and the sugar and add this paste along with the milk that is boiling. And because there is flour, it is going to thicken up, and once you have the thick paste, which is not too thick, but I am going to show you the consistency, and I am going to take it out of the stove and add the butter and the vanilla at the end and then mix it. Okay, so let me add the powders. All purpose flour, corn flour, custard powder, and then a little bit of milk. So just try and get the lumps away. It has to be lump free and smooth. Okay, so now this is good, and I'm going to set this one aside, and I'm going to get the stove in and have a saucepan. Add the rest of the milk into the saucepan and put the sugar in. And get the sugar dissolved and let the milk come to a boil. So once you see the sugar is dissolved, bring the flame to low and then add the custard powder on the all-purpose flour mixture, which is the paste. I'm going to switch over to a wire whisk. You see it's forming lumps. Just remove it off the stove for some time and keep stirring it with the wire whisk. Obviously, if you are using a gas stove with a flame, you need to just remove it completely out of the flame. And once you've mixed it well, then put it back on the flame and allow it to thicken. Just going to allow it to thicken a little bit. This is the consistency it is there now. I'm going to cook this a little more. It will thicken after it's cooled down. I'm just going to wait for a few more seconds. So into this I'm going to add, while it is still hot, I'm going to add the butter. And the vanilla, and mix this and have the butter completely melted and incorporated. Now when you find there are these lumps, we need to just sieve them before we transfer them into the glass bowl or an airtight bowl, before we allow it to rest and cool down. Okay, so I'm getting the bowl with a metal sieve in. I need to transfer. And then use the spatula and smear. So you have the silky and smooth cream passing through the sieve. And the lumps remain back. You can't have lumps in the pastry cream. And you also should just clean up the bottom of the sieve. Okay, so now this has to cool down and be stored in the refrigerator. So we need to cling wrap the pastry cream before we store it in the refrigerator, and the cling wrap should be touching the surface of the pastry cream, and we do that because there is milk that we have added and it is going to form a film, but we need to avoid that film, because later if you are going to use it, that film will have its own bits and pieces here, and the pastry cream is not going to be smooth. Okay, so once you cut the cling wrap, let the cling wrap go in, and you need to get the cling wrap touching the surface of the pastry cream. So now this will avoid the film from forming, and we could also cover this entire bowl with another layer of cling wrap on the top, or if you have a lid that you can close it and keep it airtight, then do that, but this film is essential. After this, allow it to cool in the room temperature until it comes down to complete room temperature, and refrigerate it overnight. So this becomes part of pre-preparation. Wherever in the recipe you have to use the pastry cream, it has to be used chilled directly from the refrigerator. So make it previous day, or at least 4 hours to 8 hours before you want to use it, and once it comes down to room temperature, keep it in the fridge, and you would use it directly from the fridge anywhere else that we are going to use it in the recipe.